Wait, do we have the camera on, guys? I feel like we should just, okay, good. Because I'm like, that's what happens with me. As soon as I sit down, I can't not dive right in. Like, I'm like, let's just go there.
How are you?
I'm so good. I want to dive deeper on that because in my family, everyone has like chronic neck, back pain. I've dealt with certain things and I've definitely noticed according to like certain workouts, and that was a lot of what moved me into low impact movements. But I really had this wake me up this year where I was like, oh, hold on a second. This is actually like deep rooted emotional pain that's showing up in my body and like banging on the door. I feel like the banging really starts as you're getting, like, I'm in my 40s now, so it's like you can't not listen to the things that start to creak in, right? Because then it turns into a disaster. And then you're just working on fixing.
Create the doom loop.
You create the doom loop.
And then you get stuck in it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a doom loop. I lived in a doom loop. That was my entire environment. And it's so interesting today having you here. As I woke up and I had horrible sleep last night, and I immediately went to, like, I could just feel myself shifting into like that dark, negative mindset. And the difference to where I am now in my life to where I grew up is I see it. I'm aware of it, right? So I'm never going to sit here with, even with the work that I'm devoted to and being so driven and inspired by my practice of meditation and movement and faith and honestly joy and love and connecting to things that I actually like doing and who I like being with. But it's so deeply embedded in my nervous system. And today it was so loud, and it's gloomy, it's pouring out. And I've definitely really gotten to a place where I don't allow things to predict my mood. But it was loud today, and I was laying there and I was starting to get into a doom scroll, which I'm like, this, like, it. And then I said, no, I am choosing to get up and to do the thing that I want to do the least right now, which was meditate. And I moved my body, and I did 15-minute arms, and I'm telling you, like, the difference in my energy, like everything in my body expanded and opened, and I'm like, it's raining. Okay. And it's really a beautiful thing to be able to get to that place of seeing the storm happening. But so many people live there in a constant.
They're a victim of the storm rather than curious about the storm. And in the relief loop, right? So the doom loop creates pain. The relief loop gets you out of it. The first part of that is recognize the triggers. It's like, just be curious, not furious. Ooh. So furious is victim and curious is learner. And every day you win, great day, or you learn. And if you have that mindset, you'll begin to see, what are the triggers? Mm-hmm. And what do I do about the triggers? And the trigger could have been you had aspartame yesterday. And this is fascinating new study about the generational impact of aspartame, of all things, that's in 5,000 products in the United States. And if you just have a stick of gum, they don't put the ingredients on the stick of gum. They go to this website, which nobody ever does. It often has aspartame in it, which can drive anxiety and tension?
I chewed 2 pieces of gum last night. I'm being really serious. When I get really anxious, gum sometimes like gets me. I was cocktail waitressing here in New York, right? So high stakes, like super intense energy. You have to be able to manage and juggle a lot. Like, going into a nightclub, just imagine being the person serving it. You have to really go into a
Yeah, no,
gear.
my daughter Chloe, who's now 22, was a server.
Okay.
And at a very sort of high energy Mexican place in Newport Beach. And the stories were insane.
Oh yeah. You have to switch into a different gear within yourself. It is a little like you drop into fight or flight, right? Because you have to manage things, and then all sorts of things are thrown at you. And I just, I to cope, I would chew a pack of gum. Literally a pack of gum a night. Like I was working 4 nights a week. Let me tell you, my anxiety was so high, it was soaring during that time. So of course I know aspartame and sodas and things, but you never really think of those direct
Right.
correlations.
And if you think you're making a good choice for yourself by going sugar-free,
right.
What that means is aspartame. What that means, so they did this interesting study with mice. They gave them aspartame, and it made them really anxious. And it wasn't a crazy high dose. It was like a human dose of aspartame. And they got really anxious. And then they gave them Valium, and it calmed them down. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not the right treatment, right? But the thing that sort of blew my mind, their babies who never had aspartame were more anxious. Their grandbabies were more anxious. It had an epigenetic or generational impact. And aspartame's been in the U.S. about 1980. It's now in 5,000 products, and we're dealing with the worst brain and mental health epidemic in history. So is that part of it? Maybe. Mm-hmm. But I would hold the aspartame.
Do you believe that anxiety is genetic?
I believe anxiety has familial patterns, but often if you're raised by someone who always sees fear and disaster around every corner, you're totally going to be seeing fear and disaster around every corner. So there's probably a genetic component to it.
Right.
There's clearly an epigenetic component to it. And I think the teenagers who were teens during the pandemic, and teens got hit the worst because of the fear, of the isolation, of the negativity.
Of social
and
media.
COVID actually changes your brain in a negative way. So COVID is not innocuous, and the vaccine might not be innocuous either. So if you just think of what they went through, that not only made them anxious, but when a little girl is born, she is born with all of the eggs in her ovaries she will ever have.
That's so crazy.
Whatever is happening to you, so think back on the pandemic, whatever is happening to you turns on or off genes in those eggs that make illness more or less likely in your babies and in your grandbabies. Because when you have a little girl, she has all the eggs she'll ever have, which then she's passing on to her children. It's not about you. I always say this. It's about generations of you, and how much do you love not only yourself, but your babies and grandbabies.
So coming from someone who grew up in that environment, or someone who's just so deeply there, I believe the thing that I've been able to recognize at this point in my life is the lack of self-awareness of being able to even identify your own victimhood. how the hell do we get people to see that they're causing a lot of their own pain? Do you
Well,
believe that?
yeah, I think we have to. There's all sorts of ways to do it, like give your mind a name. It's so helpful.
Give me an example.
Just so you can gain psychological distance from the noise in your head. So, when I interviewed the founder of ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, he talked about give your mind a name. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. What would I name my mind? And it came to me right away.
What mind?
So the noise, the chatter.
Dark or the...
Either one.
Okay.
The chatter. And I named it after my pet raccoon. I had a pet raccoon when I was 16. And her name was Hermie, because I didn't know she was a girl when I got her. I found out when she got pregnant, the little
wow.
hussy. But my mind was just like that raccoon. She was a troublemaker. She TP'd my mother's bathroom, very bad day. She ate all the fish out of my sister's aquarium, another very bad day. She'd leave raccoon poo in my shoes when she missed me. But that's my mind. It just like stirs up trouble. Mm-hmm. And so when I notice the storm, I smile and go, you're going in the cage. Or now what I do is I'm metaphorically in my head, I put her on her back and tickle her and play with her. And raccoons have over 200 sounds. And so I just separate. And I was 28 years old in my psychiatric residency at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. And one of our professors said, you have to teach your patients not to believe every stupid thing they think.
I love when you say that.
But I believed every stupid thing I thought, right? No one had ever trained me to manage my mind. And so whenever you feel sad, mad, nervous, or out of control, just write down what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. And then go, well, is that true?
Right.
And I have different types of ants. I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts. So there's like the blame ant, whenever you're blaming someone else for how your life is turning out. It's a big red ant. It's the worst ant. Or mind-reading ant, where you think you know what the other person is thinking, even though they didn't tell you. Mm-hmm. Or the fortune-telling ant, that's the anxiety ant, where your brain is predicting the worst, even though you don't have evidence for it. Mm-hmm. Or all or nothing ant, things are all good or all bad. Or the one that's killing our society right now is the labeling ant. You're a liberal, you're a conservative, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat. It's just killing us when we separate ourselves in a way that has never happened before. And it's because of the sophistication of social media and the news that purposefully try to piss you off in order to keep your attention. And these algorithms are creating a lot of the violence in our society.
What do you see happening with that? Do you feel like, I just feel like there's such an energetic shift around people getting really over it, like just kind of fed up with realizing that we're just getting fed all of this stuff. And I feel like the consumption is starting to really decrease.
I think people are beginning to recognize the evil and the profit motive that comes along with it. There's a great movie about this, a documentary called The Social Dilemma. And it's from the people who created Facebook and Google. And they said, you need to be careful with these things because they're making you mad on purpose for profit. And it's damaged a generation. You know, if you have a child and you give the child a smartphone, the earlier they get it, the higher the risk for suicide. And suicide in young people has gone up 746% since the year 2000. Now, what happened between then and now? Smartphones, social media. And, I mean, we had processed foods before then, so it's obviously not been helpful.
Right.
But it's cell phones, smartphones, dumb phones, and social media.
It's so terrifying just to think about. I mean, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they're asking endlessly, mostly my older one, just like
No.
people already, I am
Love you?
so
No.
strongly
That's
sticking
like
to the no.
asking for cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
And it's worse than cocaine, because when you give them a smartphone, it's not that they have access to the world, it's the world has access to them. And it is manipulating their mind for profit, but not in a good way. I mean, can you imagine when you and I were growing up? I mean, less so for me, because we had none of this craziness, is you never heard about another child in your class on psychiatric medication, on going to a psychiatric facility. There was virtually none of it. And I was in a class with 48 kids, right? With 6 rows, 8 deep.
Yeah.
And yes, there were nuns, and yes, they had rulers, and there was a healthy amount of fear. But there is not the insanity that's happening in schools now.
I know. It's so terrifying, but it really just makes you realize like you have to be so strong and like mentally strong, right? So
And not wanting your child to love you so much that you give them everything they want, because that will in fact lead them to become entitled, and entitled people are never happy. That the most loving thing you can be with those kids is firm and kind at the same time. It's God gave you parents for a reason, and your brain isn't fully developed until you're 25. So let's make decisions together. But I have the final say.
yeah, I love the firm. Like gentle parenting is not my style. I'm super firm and loving and kind, and I communicate, and it really like makes such a difference in the household when you talk to your kids like they're humans and not, like I just think having really open conversations about all of the things that they come home and ask about, and not being afraid to talk about those things is really important. And I think also just like the negative things about having a phone and what that means.
It's such a dangerous time for us. But that's why you have a podcast, and it's why I do the work I do, so that we can be better.
How do we not get caught in that fear with what's going on in the world? I was listening to your episode with you, your recent episode with you and your lovely wife, Tana, who I love. And I love when you two sit down, because I feel like you guys are just so honest. And, I don't like the word perfect. It's like, please throw it out the window.
No.
Right. Like
But we're really good.
You guys are really good, but even just hearing you say, I was like, wow, you remind me of my husband and I, because when you said to her, oh, but when you meditate, I was like, that is so me. Like I am you, and Tana and Noah are so similar, but it just makes such a difference when you see your partner, right, be able to just adapt to things on their own without it being this pushed thing, which is something I had to really come around and learn, that I cannot fix and change and help every single person, because I always thought that I could, and I always tried, even with my family and just anyone in trouble, and I'll help you, I'll buy that or this. And I really had to get to a rock bottom of understanding it's not up to me, right?
Yeah. Well, when you couldn't fix the people you were dependent on, that you loved, you try to fix other people. to make up for it, because internally you have a lot of guilt. You have a lot of rage, and then you have guilt about the rage. It's really interesting. I talk about it in Change Your Brain, Change Your Pain. I think it's one of the big things I learned. There's this fascinating form of psychotherapy called intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy. And it's really a rage therapy. And why I learned it was in reading John Sarno's books. So John Sarno was a professor at NYU, and he wrote some really great books on pain. One was a New York Times bestseller, Healing Back Pain. And basically what he said is pain that lasts is repressed emotions, and particularly rage. And so I'm like, I see that. So how do you get the rage out? And ISTDP is a rage therapy. They really help you get in touch with those feelings. And in your imagination, you end up killing a lot of people to get the rage out. And so this is sort of the model. When we're born, we want to bond. That bonding is absolutely critical to our survival. So that's innate in us. But then something happens. Parents are drinking too much. They're erratic. They're angry. They're unpredictable. They get divorced, or someone gets sick. And you develop rage about that. But you can't express it, because these are the people you depend on to eat, to be housed, to clothe you. And so you bottle it, and then you turn it on yourself. And you feel rage, but then guilt about the rage. And so you grow up believing you did something wrong. And then that sort of self-attack can turn into anxiety and depression, addiction, problems connecting with other people, and helping people. So I'm like Pollyanna. I'm like one of the most positive people you will ever meet. Now, I've worked on that, but that's what Tana would often call me, because I'm looking on the bright side of things. And as I'm writing this book and learning about how to get my patients to express their rage, I'm like, uh-oh, Pollyanna needs to become friends with Hannibal Lecter. And there's an exercise in the book I like so much called emotional freedom journaling. It's every 5 years, get a journal. On the left side of a page, what awesome things happened in your life. And on the right side, what awful things happened in your life. Because pretty soon, you're going to begin to notice where the rage comes from. But if you just did all the awful stuff, you would feel awful. And I always want my patients to feel balanced. It's like, yes, we're going to talk about the crap, but we're also going to talk about the good stuff, because I don't take broken people and make them better. I take awesome people and help them be more awesome. And so, but the emotional freedom journaling is so powerful. And then you rage journal about how that really made you feel, and you don't sugarcoat it so that you then believe you're a nice person. And what Dr. Sarno talks about is the people who have chronic pain are the goodists, the people who want to do good for others because it makes them feel good about themselves. And my whole life I've been a goodist. Now I'm a middle child and I'm a peacemaker, and but I'm like, oh, if I block how I feel and be nice to other people, my back is more likely to be in pain, or my knee is going to hurt. And I love the fact that I'm not in any pain. I mean, that's why I wrote this book, because it was my knee, it was my neck, it was my shoulder, it was my elbow, it was my back. And I'm like, well, I'm 70. And I'm like, oh, well, that must be it. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Because your body always wants to heal if you put it in a healing environment. But your body cannot heal if you're holding toxic emotions and toxic thoughts.
Everything you just said about the rage, it's so interesting because I've never really thought about it in that way with like my upbringing and even, having an eating disorder. When I moved to New York, it was like that was my coping mechanism, but it was violent. It was such a violent tool, but it was rage. It was like, and when I would drink, I would get in fights. Like it was terrible, but it was like exploding out of me, and it didn't really happen until I stepped out of the environment that I was living in and I moved here by myself. And it was like you can only push things down so much, and it was coming up at like a rapid speed, and I was doing anything and everything to just shove it down, run away from it. And now, like, hearing you say this, I mean, and it's interesting too, because I think when you are really in a place of feeling more healed, like, do you believe someone's fully like someone can become fully healed? Because hearing you say that you have no pain at 70 is, I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the other reason I wrote the book, because at my age,
I mean,
like
yes.
so many people have pain, and it's like they don't believe your body was created to heal. It's they believe your body was created to deteriorate. Now, I've seen, in fact, I had this great text I just got, was in the Uber on the way over here. One of my doctors in Florida, she said, "I'm so happy. I just showed a 79-year-old woman her scan, and it actually looked prettier than yours."
Wow.
And then she emailed it to me, and it's stunningly beautiful. And I know that I can accelerate aging by my choices today, or I can decelerate aging by my choices. And that's hope, because hope is basically tomorrow can be better and I have a role in it. So hope is agency. And the last section in the book is all about hope. I just published this huge study on hope. We looked at 7,500 people who took our hope questionnaire. And people who have low hope have low frontal lobe function, which is interesting because people who have low happiness have low frontal lobe function. People who have high negativity have low frontal lobe function. So don't let your children hit soccer balls with their forehead. And don't let them play tackle football, because they have low frontal lobe function. And that's low hope, more negativity, less happy. And I wrote a book on happiness, and in it I quote my friend Dennis Prager, who said, "Happiness is a moral obligation." So growing up Catholic, that was nowhere in my childhood. Happiness is a moral obligation. I mean, there's a lot of guilt and shame and don't do this and don't do that. And I love my Catholic upbringing because it was structured connection to God. But there could have been more happiness in it. But why is happiness a moral obligation? Because of how you impact other people, right? I guarantee you, if you were raised by an unhappy parent, or married to an unhappy spouse, or raising an unhappy child, and you go, is happiness an ethical issue? Well, absolutely, because of how we impact other people. So how can we be happy and express our rage at the same time? And that's where assertiveness comes in, right? Giving in to get along creates rage. And so firm and kind at the same time. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. And I often I treat a lot of patients who have ADD of one form or another, and they say yes way too much, and they end up overscheduled and stressed. And I'm like, when someone asks you to do something, say, I have to think about it. Ooh. And then, like, practice in the mirror, because the impulsivity, they go, would you do this? Yes. And it's like, I don't want you doing that anymore. Would you do this? Let me think about it. And then ask yourself, does it fit the goals you have for your life? Relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health. And if it fits, then do it. And if it doesn't fit, say you have an appointment. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I can't do that. I have an appointment. Now, the appointment for me might be I have to take a sauna.
Oh, yes.
Or I'm going to go work out. Or I'm going to read, right? It's get rid of the guilt. So rather than, oh, I should do that, does it fit your goals to do that? And do you want to do that? So either one, right? If you want to do it, great, do it. If it fits your goals, do it. But if it doesn't fit your goals and you don't want to, don't do it.
This is one of the most important things in life. I really think so many people just walk around, and I, thank God, woke up to my own people-pleasing syndrome where I was just so afraid to not show up for other people that I was neglecting myself in return. And to be able to get so honest with yourself and to really be in that space of, okay, when it comes time to do the thing, and like this is a thing right now in my life that I am so locked in with, because I think it can all feel right. Oh, come do this thing, and this is the rate, and you're like, okay, all sounds good, all these shiny carrots, and then it comes time to do it, and you're like, why the hell did I do this to myself again, right? And it's just like this reoccurring story and movie that you are creating in your life. And I have not been diagnosed with ADHD. One of my children has, and I am certain through their diagnosis that I have ADHD. And even just, taking some of the supplements that you've recommended, wow, what a difference I've noticed in my life. But it's also helped me be able to pause, like with the I'll let you know, or not feeling like you need to give an answer, and just being in that dead space of, I'll get back to you.
If you grew up in chaos,
Complete.
ADD can often explain the
ADD
chaos.
or ADHD?
It's the same term for both.
They're really the same?
1980, the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, how psychiatrists diagnose things, which we could talk about. But in 1980, when I trained, it was attention deficit disorder with or without hyperactivity. In 1987, they revised the book and they called it ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But it was the same thing, just a different name that just confused everyone. And the ADHD term basically threw out half the people who had it who are never hyperactive, especially girls. Okay. And then 1994, with the new version of the book, they go, oh, that was a mistake. And rather, because they're like guys, mostly guys, rather than say sorry, they changed the name again to AD/HD, highlighting half the people who have this are never hyperactive. And it's just the stupidity of how we name things. Right. So I like ADD, and I wrote a book that sold a zillion copies called Healing ADD. And it's like, no, that's just the better term, because some people are hyperactive and some aren't. And actually, in Healing ADD, I talk about 7 types of ADD. It's not one thing. There's classic, hyperactive, restless, impulsive, can't concentrate. Inattentive, more common in girls, struggle with attention, disorganization, distractibility, but not terribly impulsive.
That's all me.
My eating disorder ones are type 3. It's impulsive, compulsive ADD, or what we call overfocused ADD, short attention span, distractible, often disorganized, except some parts are super organized, tends to go more with eating disorders, tends to go more with children and grandchildren of alcoholics or drug abusers. Type 4 is limbic ADD, is sort of ADD and depression get paired together. 5 is temporal lobes, where the really temper stuff comes from. 6, the ring of fire, the really extreme ADHD kids. And 7 is anxious ADD. And so
I
it's
have a
like
few in
knowing your type or combination of types makes a big difference. And for whatever reason, I only love women that have ADD. So Tana talks about, when we first talked about it, she goes, oh, I don't believe in ADD. It's like an excuse to fail. And then, but as I've described it to her, described her mother to a T. And Tana's ACE score, adverse childhood experiences, is 8. So she grew up in a lot of craziness. And it explained it. And she was a neurosurgical ICU nurse, which means she needed the rush in
Right.
order to focus. Like, she was a hospice nurse. It would never worked for her. Not enough excitement. And she's great fun. But getting it treated, she's written 10 books now. I mean, the focus really helps her, and she doesn't hurt herself because she has to struggle in some areas. And, you know, powerful women who have ADD, it's very important for them to have an executive assistant that doesn't have ADD. It's a little OCD that'll just sort of follow through. And then these ADD women can thrive and often end up in executive positions.
Right.
But if they don't have the person that sort of helps them finish things and follow through, it's chronic stress.
Yeah.
Not only for them, but the people who love them.
Totally. So can I ask you, is Tana taking medication for that?
She is.
She is.
Yeah. In fact, one of my PBS specials, it's called Healing ADD, Tana did it with me. And we talked about the impact, and it was very funny. And she never met a cabinet door she wanted to close. And so we had at the time a white shepherd who I just loved. And she taught him how to close the cabinet doors. And initially I'm like, you should throw that wrapper away. And then I had this epiphany. Do I want the wrapper on the counter or her? Like, if I created too much of an issue around it, I might not have her. And so when I paired in my head the wrapper that didn't get thrown away or the woman who I adore at home, I just throw away the wrapper. Like, if it bothers me, it's my issue, not hers.
I feel like my jaw just hit the floor, and that is going to save so many marriages and couples, because it's really true. Like, you can't sweat and fixate over like the small stuff, right? Like, she means so much to you. Like, your relationship is so inspiring, and just to break it down to like its simplest form, it's like, what's more important here? Like, I think those are the things.
She and I have done almost 1,000 podcasts together, and she's like my best friend. And so it's like, so what's the important stuff here, really?
Yeah.
And when you realize it's all going to end, when I was in college, I took a death and dying class. One of the most important parts of my life was taking that class, because I live with the end in mind. I know this is temporary, and so is it meaningful? And if it's meaningful, I do it. And if it's not meaningful, I don't do it.
That hits. Like, that to me is like the point of life.
And she was hard to catch. She was so hard to catch.
I mean, not only is she such a babe, not to mention, like,
That
she's gorgeous.
she would like come and go
I
and
love
come
that.
and
I can
go.
see that. Oh, I love a hard to catch girl
And
from
now,
one to the next.
now she says the only way I'm running is if I'm chasing you. So I like that.
That is so sweet. How long have you been together?
20 years.
Wow. That's a long time.
It's a long time.
That's a really long time. I feel like this, because you are someone who you don't over prescribe medication, and you're always talking about the importance of supplements and tools and lifestyle. To hear you say she's taking this medication, it changed her life. Like it honestly gives so much hope, and I think to strip away shame and guilt of feeling like, oh, I don't want to be on medication, but to just even hear you with the acceptance of like, she's so much better.
Yeah, and the goal should never be medicine or not.
Okay.
Because so many people come to me and I don't want to take medicine. And I own a supplement company. And
right. I take some of your supplements.
Happy Saffron is spectacular. There's actually 5 studies on ADD with saffron, the dose that shows that it's helpful equally to Ritalin. But the goal should never be medicine or not. The goal should always be your best brain and your best function. And if you can do it without medicine, great. But medicine can be very helpful. So medicine isn't the devil,
right.
But how we prescribe medicine in this country, that's evil, right? 25% of this population in America is on psychiatric drugs. Huge win for the pharmaceutical industry. Huge loss for our society. Why? Because we make diagnoses based on symptom clusters with no biological data. Like if I was going to give you a stimulant, first thing I'd want to see is, well, how's your brain? Mm-hmm. And is your brain the right brain for this medicine? Rather than, oh, you meet 6 of these 9 criteria, take a stimulant. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, that's stupid, right? What other medical specialists act like psychiatrists that never look at the brain? And they call me crazy. And for so many years, I would get my feelings hurt because my colleagues would go, oh, he's a charlatan, or oh, he's a snake oil salesman. And I'm like, okay, what makes me a charlatan? I want to look at your brain before I give you medicine. Why do you have a problem with that?
Right.
Because I am up against a $1 trillion industry that pharmaceutical companies are very happy with how things are going now. All these doctors prescribing powerful psychiatric drugs with no biological information. It's like, no, we want to keep doing that. And then, little me goes, that's crazy, right? I'm a psychiatrist. I know how to diagnose insanity. And that's insane.
Mm-hmm. Can you take, I'm honestly selfishly asking you this question, but I think a lot of women would love to know this, because around our cycles, right, I definitely notice when you were saying with ADHD and the depression correlation with one of the types, I notice a very drastic dip in my serotonin and my dopamine premenstrual, where it's pretty extreme, right? So for someone who, I take all your suggestions. I take your saffron. That has helped tremendously. Omegas, all of the things that help with my cognitive function. But around that specific time, like, can someone take meds during just that time and then go back to their supplements?
Yes, there's also a supplement way to do it. We have a new premenstrual product that has gotten lots of positive things. But at your age, because you said
I'm 42, I'm turning 43.
So this is one of the things that most women don't know.
Okay, give it to us, please, Doc.
About 10 years before you go into menopause, your progesterone starts to go low. And when your progesterone starts to go low, you become more anxious, more irritable, sleeps a little bit harder. People think of drinking a little bit more, taking Xanax or Ambien. And I'm like, no, no, no.
Or a gummy.
Get
That's what people are doing.
get your around day 21 or day 19 to 21 of your menstrual cycle, get your hormones checked, especially progesterone. And if it's low or in the lower quartile of normal, 100 milligrams of progesterone at night, I mean, it can save your marriage. Tana often says it's the reason she's not on the 6 o'clock news.
Oh my God. Okay.
And what I would do is I'd start, so if I was your doctor, I'd go journal it every day. I just want you to rate your mood, your focus, your anxiety, and your irritability, 0 to 10. So 0 is awful, 10 is awesome. And let's see, every day we win or we learn. We're curious, not furious. And then we try the supplement interventions, a little bit of progesterone, and then we see. And if it doesn't work like we hope, some of the SSRIs, like Prozac, have been found to be really helpful, and you just have to take them the last 2 weeks of your cycle. It's not the first thing. So this is how I practice, and this is how I think. Let's look at your brain. And I've done actually many scans, good time of your cycle and bad time of your cycle. So growing up, I had 5 sisters.
Right.
So you don't believe in PMS. It's like you don't have sisters. And I had this one patient. I'm at Marine World, sort of like SeaWorld up in Northern California,
Yes.
with my children. And I get this text from the mother of one of my patients. She goes, I have to talk to you immediately. And so I excuse myself from the whale show. I'm like, hey, what's up? She goes, I'm calling from jail. I attacked my husband with a knife. And I'm like, when are you getting out? And she's getting out later that day. I said, I want to see you at my office. And 3 times she got just completely crazy, violent with her husband, all within the 7 days before she started her period. And I'm like, I'm going to scan you tomorrow. No frontal lobes, the rest of her emotional brain on fire. And then I'm going to scan you 11 days later. So at the worst time of her cycle and the best. It was like there were 2 different people. Her brains were so different.
There are.
And I'm like, PMS is real, and it can be real dangerous for some people. And balancing her brain, it's like she didn't have to talk to the police anymore.
Oh my
Except
God,
like a police benefit.
I relate so deeply. Like, it is real. It's a real thing. But doesn't Prozac take a while to kick in? Like,
Not for
I know
PMS.
for ADHD, like ADD meds, they instant.
For depression, it can take 4 to 6 weeks
Got
to
it.
kick in. For PMS, they found that you could do it on the sort of 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and it takes the edge off. But we also make something called serotonin mood support that has 5-HTP, which is the serotonin precursor.
That's what I take that.
Yeah.
But if you take 5-HTP, you can't take SSRIs.
Well, you have to be careful with them.
Okay.
Because there's something called serotonin syndrome, which is very rare, but it happens if you get too much serotonin in your system. But, I think it's more for people who are taking 40 or 60 or 80 milligrams of Prozac as opposed to 10 or 20.
Got it.
And I've not seen it with 5-HTP, but the theory would be it's like, okay, you're overloading the system, and in sensitive brains, it can cause trouble.
Got it. Okay. So that's when I increase my 5-HTP, which has been Thank you. I mean, it's so incredible the edge that it takes off, but just from hearing these stories, I'm like, there could be a little layer deeper of an edge taken off so that I'm not calling you from from jail.
Text me.
Yeah, I'll text.
We're friends. Um, your husband will thank me so much.
Yeah. It's
And
just,
your
yeah, I've
children.
really noticed it strongly this year. Like it wasn't so
So
severe for
maybe
me.
progesterone. So I think getting your hormones tested right around that time.
Okay.
Hormones are so important. I have an acronym. If you want to keep your brain healthy or rescue it, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors. And the acronym is Bright Minds, and the N is neurohormones because they're so important, whether it's thyroid or progesterone or cortisol, testosterone. And with all the sort of toxins in our society, like I love we're having this discussion about Tylenol. I mean, I think we should be talking about it, or aspartame, or
Yeah.
red dye number
40.
40. Like, let's get this stuff out
Please.
of our supply. And that's not a Republican or a Democrat issue. It's a moral issue that if the rise in cancer and the rise in mental health disorders is related to toxins, it's the responsible thing is get them out.
Right. I mean, yes, like I would say the rise in all of these toxins and also just like addiction and mental health. And, you know, it's one thing for each and every one of us to take ownership of ourselves and where we are and really being able to recognize the doom loop, the doom scroll, just living in like a very dark, limited belief mindset. But when you're dealing with maybe a spouse or a family member who is in that dark, dark place, what do you recommend for people? Because I think that is unfortunately so many people's reality, right? Whether it's a parent
Well, there's
or
no
your-
normal people in the world. I mean, you just have to start with that. If you think someone else is normal, what that means is you don't know them
Right.
well enough. When I was a young psychiatrist, I would get this idea, like, this person is so normal. I just want to get to know them. If I had that thought consciously, within 3 weeks, they would be in my office telling me about the domestic violence, the addiction, that they're about to get divorced.
Yeah.
It's like normal is the setting on a dryer or a city in Illinois. It's when I did a normal study. So I've done almost 300,000 scans now. And early on, I'm like, so what does normal look like? And we recruited. And we screened 3,000 people and found about 100 normal people. Were not on psychiatric medicine, didn't have a psychiatric illness, head injury, they weren't using drugs, and they didn't have a first-degree relative, mother, father, sibling, or child with a psychiatric illness. They're very rare. I was like, okay, let's not call this normal because normal is troubled.
Yeah.
Let's just call it our healthy brain study.
I love that. So don't worry.
So if you have
So if
somebody
you have people in your life-
family, the most important thing you can do for them is live the message of brain health. Every day you are modeling health or modeling illness. Now there's this idea going around that a mom can only be as happy as her unhappiest child. And I think that is pure crap, because what you're doing is you're taking another person's decision making and you're making them in charge of you. And of our 6 kids, if one's having trouble, I'm going to be helpful, but I'm also going to let them make whatever decisions they make, and then they'll have the consequences
Yeah.
of those decisions. The more I rescue people, the more they become entitled and the more they become mad.
and the more pain it causes you.
Yeah. And ultimately, who can I control?
You and only
Most
you.
of the time. some of the
Yeah.
time.
I mean, so in your control and just thriving at the age of 70, like how do you live your life? Like how do you wake up in the morning? What is the first thing that you do? What are you
Well, I
eating?
sleep
What are
with
you
Tana, so
drinking?
I'm usually happy. Um, yeah, I usually get up before her, and
What time?
we have two shepherds. One of them's a white shepherd, and she's my girl, and the other one is Tana's big boy. So I take the shepherd downstairs and take her out and pray. I start every day with today is going to be a great day. It's like I train my brain. What are you looking forward to today? Because negativity, low frontal lobe function,
Yeah.
positivity. Now, I'm not so radical. You're not rational, right? But I'm pushing my brain to look for
Same.
what I like. Today is going to be a great day. And then Tan will get up, and I generally make her a decaf almond milk cappuccino. And she used to make it for me, and then she went away. I'm like, oh, you have to teach me how to make it. And for the last 10 years, I've made it for her. So I don't know what that is.
Do you have one too?
And I have one too.
Oh,
And
decaf.
yeah. And, and then we go for a walk, and we do something I like called Japanese walking. I did it today in the gym, which is 3 minutes normal, 3 minutes fast, 3 minutes normal, 3 minutes fast, and do it 5 times. And so we take the dogs, and they sniff for the 3 minutes we're not walking fast, and then they don't sniff. So,
Right.
and then I come back, generally have 3 poached eggs. That's make myself a shake, answer email, get the day going. And whenever I go to bed at night, I go, what went well today? And that is such a helpful practice. What went well? And I go hour by hour looking for what was right about the day. And the negative stuff will show up, and I'm like, now's not your time. You have to discipline your mind. I mean, imagine if you gave in to everything the kids wanted, that you would create a monster.
Totally.
But so many people do that for themselves. It's
Yeah.
I want what I want when I want it. It's like, oh, you're 4 years old.
Ooh.
It's like, no, what is useful? What is good? And people go, like I saw Dennis Rodman, and he's like, how can you have any fun? And so we play a game. I have a high school course called Brain Thrive by 25. And invariably, 14-year-olds go, how can you have any fun? And we go, well, who has more fun? The person with the good brain or the person with the bad brain? Who gets the girl and gets to keep her because he's not an ass? The person with the good brain or the person with the bad brain? Who makes more money, the person with the good brain or the person with the bad brain? Who has the most meaning and purpose and lives the longest with the healthy brain? The person with the good brain or the bad brain? One statistic that's just so frightening. If you live to be 85,
Oh, I am.
you
120
have a
minimum.
1 in 2 chance of having dementia. It's like, holy smokes. If you live to 85, you have a 50% risk of having dementia. No. It's like, I'm going to live to 85 if I have a say. And no, we're not going to have dementia. But that means I need to make decisions every day that fit with my long-term goals. And I guarantee you I have more fun than most people my age.
I love that. And I always say, I'm definitely going to make it to 120 minimum, God willing. Like I love your energy around just like, people have said to me before, once you have an eating disorder, you always have an eating disorder. And I'm like, no, you don't. I don't have an eating disorder. And even just with like, you're always healing. You're never healed. And to hear you say even like you're in this place, you have no pain.
That's a
I'm like,
label.
I agree. And I'm like,
no, it's like I'm an alcoholic. And you introduce yourself at every meeting is I'm an alcoholic. And I'm like, oh, so you're going to identify with the part of you that's out of control. And I'm like, no, I'm not a fan of that. In fact, in my book, Your Brain is Always Listening, I rewrote the 12-step program. So that's bold because there's no neuroscience in the
Right.
12-step program. And step one is you have to admit your life is out of control. And I'm like, that's not step one. That's step two. Step one is what do you want? Relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health. What do you want? So then step two is easy. Is your behavior getting you what you want, or is it getting you pain in any of those areas? And you know you're an addict. If you do that and it gets you into trouble, whether it's marijuana or alcohol or
Yeah.
mushrooms or whatever, and then you do it again, right? There's a difference between a high bottom, which is, okay, this is trouble for me, I'm stopping, which, like the first time you get a ticket or the first time you lose a job or you lose a relationship. A low bottom is you have to be clubbed over the head over and over and over again before you realize my life is out of control. I need to stop this stuff.
It's so hard loving someone at a low bottom.
It's so hard. And ultimately, you have to have boundaries.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, their low bottom will be a never-ending source of cortisol for you. Cortisol's stress hormone, which shrinks your hippocampus, your major memory structure in the brain, and puts fat on your belly. So
Yeah.
I'm not okay with high cortisol levels. Now, it's my job. So, with my patients who relapse, I'm like, what are we going to learn? And we're always winning or learning.
Yes. I feel like it's the one thing, like, in that understanding of, like, truly letting go and letting God with love, but with arm's length, has helped me so much with my healing and with pain in my body. Like when I was starting to feel this insane neck pain and
Well, you're so angry
lower back
at them
pain.
for making choices
It's so annoying
that
repeatedly.
don't serve them. And ultimately, I never want to enable someone to do that. And I've had to do it with people I care deeply about. But I care deeply about me, too. I do. And, I win or I learn. And I'm not helping someone who's not helping themselves.
I just feel like your perspective on everything is just such a breath of fresh air, and so, like, it's exciting. Like it leaves me feeling just like so hopeful, and also just like what a privilege it is to age and to be able to like better ourselves and our brain. I remember the first time we met in Miami through Jim Curtis, and we sat down and I said, "Do you drink?" And you looked at me because we had just met, and you said, "I'm either doing things to strengthen and better my brain, or I'm doing it to make it worse, and I don't drink." And I was like, oh, I love that. Like, what a nice introduction to meeting someone. And I newly had stopped drinking, and it's been 6 years this November, actually.
Wow.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been one of the best things I've ever done for myself in my life. And I'll be really, really honest with you, because I have definitely gotten to this place where I have no desire at all to drink. But, it's funny to hear you say, like, do you have fun? And, occasionally I'm like, all right, I'll take a little edge off. And I'm very aware of the things that you share around, whether it's marijuana or mushrooms or alcohol. They all affect your brain the same. And that, is a big awakening and understanding, right? Because I think a lot of people who are, let's just say, sober curious or living a sober curious lifestyle actually consume a lot of marijuana and mushrooms. At least, I feel like in the world that we live, people start adapting to other things. And I'm not going to sit here and say I've never done any of those things, but I have realized that in the space of feeling like I want to take the edge off, the edge, it's like I'm literally living on the edge the next day of anxiety and all of these
Yeah.
things.
It's
And
because you're feeling better now and not later versus now and later. And I always want to do things that help me feel good now.
yeah.
So diaphragmatic breathing, hypnosis, meditation, havening. Do you know havening?
No, what
Oh,
is
it's so
havening?
cool. It was developed by Ron Rudin here in New York, actually. It's whenever you get anxious. So I'll give you an example. My dad died 5 years ago, right after the pandemic started. And it was awful.
I'm sorry.
And the night he died, I went to bed and I went, what went well today? Because it's habitual for me. And I'm like, seriously? Hermes showed up,
Yeah.
the raccoon, and goes, seriously? We're going to do that tonight? You're a bad son. But I did it because it was my habit, right? We live on habits.
Yeah.
And I went right to sleep because I thought about something funny my mother said to the policeman. She said, you think I killed him, didn't you? She said, you think I'm having an affair. I'm like, Mom. And, went to bed. 2 days later, I'm at her house, and I'm just going through papers, and I see a picture of my dad dead in the mortuary in a random stack of papers. And I was so upset. And, I'm grieving and upset anyways, but I just kept looping on, I call them zombies. It's like these thoughts just won't go away. And I teach my patients havening. So havening is bilateral hemisphere stimulation, a little bit like EMDR, a treatment for trauma that I do with my patients. And so it's either you rub your hands together like this, or my favorite is I grab my shoulders, like just give yourself a hug all the way down, like really feel it. And for the first 20 or 30 seconds, go in to the feeling. So many people are trying to escape feelings. I never want to escape my feelings. I want to understand my feelings. And so go into it. You're really unhappy about it. And rate how upset you are on a scale of 0 to 10. It was a 10 for me. And so for the first 20, 30 seconds, go into the feeling. And then for the next 90 seconds, keep doing this and distract yourself. Go to the beach. Go to the mountains. I went to a cabin with snow in front of a fire. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I kept havening. And after 2 minutes, it's a 3. So I did it again. Go into it and then distract yourself. Now it's a 0. And we're like 4 minutes into this. And then I did 2 more times, and I fell in love with the picture because it was the last picture of my father on earth. But and this actually works for kids, it's like, what are you upset about? I want you to feel it. Do this. You can just stroke
I
like
really
their
like
arms.
this.
Yeah. And go, I want you to think about that. And now I want you to go to Disneyland or Coney Island or wherever that they love. And it just teaches them, I can go into the feeling and it won't scare me. And I have a way to get out. And it's not mushrooms. It's not.
No,
it's like, why would you do things that we have evidence that hurt you when you can do things like havening or diaphragmatic breathing, or I'm a huge fan of hypnosis and self-hypnosis and meditation that don't hurt you.
Yeah.
It's all about love. How much do you love yourself? Do you love yourself so much that you can avoid things that hurt? Go into the pain, but then give yourself a way out.
Oof, deep and real.
Havening's cool. So
Yeah.
people can learn more about it at havening.org. So like safe haven, havening.org. It's just so simple.
Yeah.
But for people who grew up with a lot of trauma, I published a study last year on 7,500 people who had ACE scores, adverse childhood experiences. Their brain's busy, and the trauma does that to you. But things like EMDR calms it down.
Can you explain?
So EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, it's a psychological treatment for trauma. But, I also use it for peak performance. And I did a podcast recently with Julius Randle. So Julius is an NBA superstar, 3-time All-Star.
Of course.
Had 33 points last night.
We love Julius Randle.
Yes. And he came to see me because he's depressed. And smoking a lot of pot because that was his escape.
Yeah.
But
Been
his
there.
wife was about ready to divorce him. And I told him, I said, I am going to be the best value you ever had. Because if it works, save him $100 million with the divorce. And he just did everything I said. We saw his brain. His brain wasn't healthy because of the marijuana. And he stopped, like immediately. And then I taught him not to believe every stupid thing he thought. And he had some childhood trauma. His parents were separated. There was a lot of unhappiness. And so we started doing EMDR. And for like the first 10 sessions, we're working on the trauma. And then we started working on how can I be better? And all the little traumas from losses or not performing well in the playoffs and stuff like that. And in the last year's playoffs is the best playoffs of his career. And I mean, he's really a superstar. So, and he said, yeah, you saved my life. And he gave his mind a name. It was Teddy, which is after his dog, who would just bark at nothing. It was like, that's my name. We're naming it Teddy.
That's so good. By the way, new dog mom here. And I have to say, I feel like my mental health feels more stable. Is that
Well, it all depends. If the dog is
dog's
crazy.
a dream. No, I have a dream dog.
If the dog is dream and had good training.
Very good training.
So important. I lay on the floor with my white shepherd. When I work out at home, she's always in the room. And in between sets, I'll just lay on the floor and cuddle her. And it's medicine.
Oh, that's what I mean. I feel like I feel so stable. Anyone who says there's actually scientific evidence when you're petting a pet, doesn't have to be a dog, but it calms your nervous system. It is so real. This little guy, I'm showering. He's in there everything I do. He's right with me. I usually bring him to work, but since it was pouring today, I was like, okay, Melissa, you don't have to bring your dog today. But it's so sweet. It really is just getting in touch with those things in life that are life enhancers. And I just didn't know because I haven't had an animal since I was a child, and I grew up in such a chaotic household that I really associated pets with chaos because that's what it was like for me. But now just having this
and that's how the brain works. It works through association. And you just have to ask yourself, does this association serve me or does it hurt me? Mm-hmm. And do I want it? Tana still wants to be vigilant when we're out. I'm not that vigilant. And there's actually a game. We test people when we do a test to look at faces. And do you notice positive faces faster or negative faces faster? And I notice positive faces faster.
Yes.
She notices negative faces faster. I said, oh, well, we can train that. And she's like, absolutely not. It's absolutely what I'm keeping that.
Because it's almost like a safety thing too. You're making sure when you're living in New York, I'm so aware of
I bet
avoid. And we have a family, we have a sentence that we say to each other if something feels unsafe. And it's been so amazing to see how incredibly street smart my children are, because like I'll just, it's like, "Oh, how about that sandwich? You want to go get that sandwich?" Just like a simple, and we're all like clocking, and it's such a nice thing to have as a family, to feel like you're all on the same page of understanding your surroundings.
Well, I like that you talk about that. But Tana's mom was a prepper. She died about 18 months ago, and prepper, hoarder, something. And I'm like, she was prepping for the wrong thing. Rather than the Chinese, she should have prepped for cancer. And that's why I'm so focused on my health, because I love my life. I love my wife. I love what I do. We're working on a national brain health revolution from the White House. I'm so excited about it. Whenever I post on this, the haters come out. And so I always preface it with brain and mental health are sacred human rights. This is not political.
At all.
If President Obama would have called and said, "Hey, Daniel, will you help me with the mental health crisis?" I'm like, Barack, you had me from hello. So this is not political. But what if everybody in the country and ultimately the world asked themselves just this one question every day? The revolution is around this one question. Is what I'm doing now good for my brain or bad for it? And does it honor my creator? Is this good for my brain or bad for it? And does it honor my creator? And then answered that question with good science and love. Love of yourself, love of your family, love of the reason you're on the planet. I think our health would just be exponentially better. And too often we're just walking around doing our habits rather than things that serve us.
Oof. Amen. Honestly, like, that's it. It's really what it's all about. And honestly, like, even just, talking about like, oh, the occasional this, it really is just getting to a very radically transparent place with yourself, and asking you, like what do I really want and desire in my life? And I think the thing that really stands in the way of people actually getting to the place where it's a reality is the actions in their life and their daily habits do not align.
They don't serve them.
To
and then
bring that to life.
And then the 4-year-old shows up. I want what I want when I want it. And I'm like, if you gave that to your 4-year-old, you create a behavior disorder. You're creating your own behavior disorder.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what do I really want? Energy, memory, clarity, good decisions, forethought. Because I always say, with my wife or anybody's wife, no forethought equals no foreplay. Right? I mean, you got to have a good brain if you want more love in your life.
I mean, guys, come on. Like, 70. Like, it can get better. Like, this is inspiring. When I wake up every morning, I say to myself, and I said it this morning at 6:00 when it was dark and it's pouring out, and, I grew up in Syracuse where it's very gloomy, and I used to just be gloomy because I let the weather predict my mood. And now I say, how bad do I want to feel good today? Like, I know that I want to feel so good, the best that I can feel every day, so badly that I am willing to get up when I don't want to get up, to meditate when I don't feel like meditating, and to move my body when it's the last thing on earth that I want to do, because those are the things that actually, first of all, like, just reignite this fire inside me, bring this energy out, and I show up in such a bigger way. Like, I actually don't do these things because I'm disciplined. I do it because I'm devoted to myself.
It's about love.
It's about love and honoring and wanting to give myself the things I never got.
And being a good parent to yourself.
Yes.
right? Because still the bad parent, the noise, the nonsense, what Hermie might tell me, it's still there, but I don't have to attach to it, right? It's not the thoughts you have that make you suffer. It's the thoughts you attach to. Like I had this most crazy thought. So the big German Shepherd, when Tana comes home, he's insane. He is like, even if she's gone 10 minutes, I missed you so much. Where did you go? You are the love of my life. Oh my God. And I come home and he's like, hey, dude. And there's nothing. But if she's not home, the little girl, Aspen, and Terrace, the big boy, they come in my office and they sit on the floor, and every 20 minutes he'll come pet me, and like we're buds. And I just got this thought, if I killed Tana, that when I got home, he'd get all excited. And then I'm like, no, we're not going to kill Tana to get more love from the dog. But that's, your mind is so crazy sometimes. Jerry Seinfeld once said, the brain is a sneaky organ. We all have weird, crazy, stupid, sexual, violent thoughts that nobody should ever hear. Like that was one of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Tana shows up dead now, people are going to look at me. It's like, he did it for the dog, motivation. And it's just a random, stupid thought that showed up that I don't have to attach to.
Not believing everything you think. Like that line right there is just life-changing. Thank you so much. I mean, even hearing you say that you only want to do things that are meaningful, it means so much to me that you came back on the podcast and doing it in person. It's just a must. Like I can't do virtual meetings anymore because this is like, it's just electric when you're able to sit with someone you really want to sit with. And I listen to you endlessly. I take all your advice. You've said a few things today that I think really, really hit home for me today. Just like the occasional, I'm like, you're right. Like I'm ready to up level. That is what I want in my life. So to really embody that and bring that forward is, I think, what enhances your life and what it's all about. And you've changed the way that I think. And I'm so grateful for you and the work that you share. Everyone. I mean, this title, when I grabbed it on Dylan's desk yesterday, I had full body chills, like my whole body, because it really is that. Like it's all in the mind. And when you can change your brain, you can change your internal, your external pain. And I just think the word hope and light and love is what I feel when I'm with you.
So great to see you again. Thank you for helping me spread sort of this mission I have of brain health and people loving their brain. Because when you love it, you begin to love your life.
Thank you. So good. No more gummies. I'm sorry, it's true. Like it's so occasional, but it's just, I'm like,
well, and I almost should have said this.
No, say it, because I'll say what I just said too. I'm not afraid to say that. Like there isn't an occasional thing.
Every day you are modeling health or illness for the people you love. And even though the kids might not know, they always know. When I came to realize this sort of epigenetic phenomenon about behavior, that it's why I'm authentic, because people just will know if you're not.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't live the message, you suck as a messenger.
Oh, my God. Done. No more occasional.